Hello everyone, this is International Master Robert Jamieson from Kids Unlimited in Melbourne, Australia. And today I have a cute game to show you from the 1982 Australian Championships between Alan Goldsmith and Arvid's Prods. Now, back in 1980, there was an interesting movie called The Gods Must Be Crazy about a bushman in the middle of Africa who had an empty Coke bottle fall on his head, presumably dropped from an aircraft, and all the strange events that ensued. The reason I'm mentioning this is because when I was browsing through chessgames.com to find an interesting game, I saw this title of a game, The Prods Must Be Crazy, a parody on the movie, and it had this game. Now, Arvid's Prods. I remember many years ago when I was a naive young junior, I was playing in a tournament in the Melbourne Chess Club, and they had an uneven number of players. So they asked an older boy whether he might like to join and play, and I got paired with him in the first round. So I had my score sheet there, so I asked him what his name was, and he told me it was A-N Other. So I dutifully wrote down A-N Other on my score sheet and ended up losing fairly quickly. It was only many years later when I realised that A-N Other stood for another, and his real name was Arvid's Prods. So he got me a beauty when I was a junior, but Arvid's was quite a strong player. He's playing black in today's game. His opponent, Alan Goldsmith, is a very strong South Australian player. He never made it to master level. I remember playing him in my first Australian junior when I was about 15, and I was terrified because he was the third best junior in all of South Australia. But I managed to get a draw. But he is famous as Australia's best attacking player. Very one-sided player. If you give him an attack, he will probably towel you up, and he comes up with all these imaginative sacrifices. So if you're playing Alan, you have to be very, very careful. All right, let's have a look at the game and see what happens. So Goldsmith is playing white. He starts off B3. Prods seizes the centre, defends his pawn, puts the knights out. Bishop B5, fairly standard. D6 to defend the pawn. Now, Alan makes a strange move here. Why did you play Bishop B5? Presumably to pin the knight or take it and give him double pawns. He goes back again. He could have gone to E2 straight away, so he's sort of giving his opponent a move or two. Bit strange, never mind. D4, so White's now making a claim for some space in the centre. And he's got his two pawns side by side, very important. Black's defending his advanced pawn on E4. Queen C8, that's a bit of a funny move. I don't know that I'd want my queen on C8. I think I'd play Queen D7 if I really want to move the queen. Or maybe even H6, something like that, to give the bishop an escape square. Anyway, Queen C8. H3. So clearly Goldsmith is now thinking about getting a kingside attack going. The centre is blocked, so flank attacks will be good. Bishop back. G4, here we come. H6. Well, now this is interesting. White's threatening H4, H5, trapping the bishop. So I guess you sort of have to play H6. I always tell my students to be careful moving pawns in front of the king because it sometimes creates a target. The best spot is having the three pawns unmoved as you see it there. But H6, let's see what happens. H4, here comes Goldsmith. E8, G5, yes, so here we are. So this is more or less forcing an opening up of the position. Now, admittedly, it doesn't look very attacking for White, though. He hasn't castled. He hasn't got all his men out. So let's see what happens. His G-pawn is attacked, but White's E-pawn is on free. Goldsmith first attacks the queen. Now he takes the E pawn. Pods takes the G pawn. I don't know, I think this looks fairly okay for black. His pieces are nicely placed and he's got 4 pieces developed. What would you play if you were white? Were it me, I'd think about castling queenside and then trying to do some stuff on the H file. But Goldsmith comes up with an interesting move. Queen F3. Now, those sharp-eyed viewers watching this video will have noticed that this loses material. I mean, can't black just take the D pawn because it's pinned and attack the queen? What do you think? Is it a blunder or a sacrifice? Well, I think it's a sacrifice. This wins a pawn and has a lovely threat on the queen, and also knight c2 winning the rook. So it looks great if you want to win material. The trouble is, after knight takes d4, we've opened up the diagonal from a1 to h8 with that bishop on b2. So that's getting an extra white piece on the attack. It looks very dangerous. Prods might have been safer to play knight b4, still threatening to win the exchange, or d3 winning a piece. That might have been a better move. Anyway, let's see. Knight takes, queen across to the h file, mate in 1 coming up on h8. What would you play here if you were black? Clearly, you only have 2 choices. You either block the mate or check me. What do you think? Or is there a 3rd choice? Interesting idea is f5. So that's the 3rd option, giving the king an escape square. And now queen check, king f7 doesn't really do much. Maybe white drops back. We could have a bit of a swap. c6. Looks reasonable for both sides, I think. No great problems there. But Prods didn't play f5. He went knight check. Where would you put your king? I think it's pretty obvious, isn't it? Just about everyone would play king d2. You might have noticed a couple of question marks after that. The computer says, I want to put my king on e2. Looks counterintuitive because d2 you're attacking the knight and maybe helping to trap it in the corner. The problem is later on, black might get in a check here and save the day. So the computer prefers e2, but humans play king d2. Bishop back to stop the mate. All right. Now, white's rook's attacked. He could be threatening knight takes e3 as well. What would you play if you were white? Alan Goldsmith is not terribly interested in saving his rooks. He's interested in attacking, so his move's pretty clear. He plays knight d5, activating the knight, activating the bishop. Okay. Now, black should play something like c6. Attacking the knight. Let's have a look at the line the computer suggests. Knight check, king moves, takes rook, takes rook, takes pawn. Check. There's the check I mentioned. Now, if the king was on e2, that wouldn't be possible. King away, takes, 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 check, up, rook h5, rook check, and I think it's going to be perpy. King here, queen here, and we've sort of got perpetual check. But Prods greedily took the rook. All right, pause the video, white to play. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 attacking pieces. What would you play? Okay, I hope you found a good move. Goldsmith found bishop f6. Now, my original thought was knight f6, but I think it's only perpetual check. Not king here, queen takes bishop, pawn takes queen, bishop f6 mate, king back again, and we have Perpy. But Goldsmith found the better move, bishop f6. Look at that, attacking the queen. We can't take it because queen takes h6 is going to be mate in the corner. Queen runs away. All right, white to play. What would you play? For a tactician, it's pretty obvious. Queen takes bishop, queen sacrifice. Here we go. Have to take, rook takes. Now we're threatening rook h8 mate. Only one way out of it, block with a bishop. Can white keep his attack going? He's only got 4 attacking pieces now. Yes, he can. Bishop f5, sacking the bishop. If we take, it's rook h8 mate. Black can defend, however, with rook e6. Now, what do we play? A couple of takes and checks and things to think about. But Goldsmith plays the correct one. Rook takes bishop, threatening mate again on h8. Rook takes bishop, knight takes rook check. King must go to f8. And now the coup de grace, knight d7 check, winning the queen, and black resigned. Clearly, if he plays, say, king here, knight takes queen, king takes, we can just go here and trap the knight, or we can consider bishop here as well. But white's going to end up a piece up with no great problems. So a very nice finish to that game, but clearly Probs was a bit greedy with the material and allowed Alan Goldsmith to play the sort of game that he really enjoyed and is really good at. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that game and can use those ideas in your own games. All the best. See you next video.